Here.
Clerk.
Yes, here.
Okay. So we don't have to go into executive
No.
session, so we can just start. I'll let you start.
Okay, Joseph, if you want to bring up those PowerPoint presentations. Number one is, we've sent a lot of material out ahead of the meeting. As board knows, last Thursday, I attended what's called the NLIC workshop for interested communities and community leaders, where we kind of got the idea of what the state of Oklahoma is looking for as far as nuclear energy development. I sent a memo out to all the board members at the time that kind of broke that down, as well as access to the website that is being used, as well as some follow-up YouTube videos kind of explaining parts of it. The presentation that we're actually going to look at was basically the PowerPoint presentations that were presented at that NLIC conference, which I think is very important for everybody to be known. So if you're going to go to the kind of next slide. The big one that came out of this first one, is because OU basically presented two of them. This one is basically the importance of the nuclear energy development in Oklahoma, as far as what all the factors are going into it. Go ahead into the next slide. I think this is the most important slide on that. They have this entire presentation. This is the most important slide. You'll see the blue boxes, and then the red box, and then the yellow box. What Oklahoma is trying to do with these nuclear campuses really starts with where you see those two lines moving up, and that's the recycling loop. So what they want to do is enrich, recycle used nuclear materials, power generation, and then ultimately you follow the yellow line, which is the disposal. And so these new NLIC campuses, what that is they want to co-locate at least two of these processes in the same location, so that they can handle this nuclear fuel cycle. Go to the next slide. Is there any more slides on that one? Yeah, that's just stuff. So if you look at the nuclear fuel cycle, this is the uranium supply chain here. Notice we don't really do a lot of domestic production anymore. Most of this is imported. So it has really put us behind the curve as far as nuclear energy development. Next slide. And then this talks more about the front end side of it, as far as how it's made, how they take the uranium, they mine the uranium, and they enrich their uranium. And then again, all these slides are also available on this website, ee.ok.gov/NLIC. So that's kind of explains the front end, which is that blue box. So if you want to know how it's made and manufactured.
Can you say that one more time? I'm gonna kind of write down some notes, because that's important.
ee.ok.gov/NLIC is where you can find the stuff.
NLIC.
Yeah.
Okay.
NLIC. NLIC.
Oh, thank you. Okay. NLIC.
Was you gonna say something, Dirk?
No, I was gonna text her, and I guess she could actually watch this live
Good to answer one.
yeah. I don't mean
It's
to
on
interrupt.
Yeah.
YouTube.
So,
That's
I mean,
it, Maven.
so after you get through the fuel stage, the next stage would be the, actually, hopefully they won't mind us streaming all this on YouTube, so I don't know.
I was gonna say that.
But the next stage would be energy generation. This is actually where they go and they generate the energy. This is kind of the small cell reactors that we've been talking about. So they're looking at generating up to 1 gig of energy, which is about what the town of the city of Tulsa operates off of. So that it's a ton of energy that they're trying to produce per one of these units. And now the back end is managing the nuclear, so basically, I didn't know this until I went to the conference, but the United States does not permanently get rid of nuclear waste. We store nuclear waste, but it's still accessible nuclear waste. So on the back end side of it, there's gonna be some more slideshows that kind of talk about that, is what they're wanting to do is take all the current nuclear waste we have, bring it to the facility, they can extract the usable materials out of that, and then they can recycle that. But eventually they're gonna run out of the materials, and then they have to store it. And so the storage system that they're talking about is a deep isolation, which there's actually specific materials on that. So that's the three nodes that whenever we talk about the three nodes of what Oklahoma's NLC is going to contain, it's the fuel manufacturing, the power generation, and then the storage. So just keep going. I think I'm pretty much done on this one. Again, we're gonna have more specific on that. And then of course, as far as the other parts that we can potentially do, is it's not just about energy generation. This is something I mentioned, but radioactive materials can be used for other things, including the production of medical isotopes that help diagnose cancer research and stuff like that. And so it has these other ancillary markets or ancillary businesses on top of the power generation. And that's just resources. This is basically where all the nuclear facilities currently are. As you can see, Oklahoma, there's nothing there. There's definitely one in, I think, Arkansas, Texas, but there's none where we're at. New Mexico, but nothing where we're at. So I think that's basically it on that slide. The next slide is can you go to that bottom slide first? Because that bottom slide. Sorry. Yeah, the one, this is Oklahoma Geological. Okay, so this is kind of an important thing. So basically, when you talk about the waste management, the deep isolation component, obviously one of those components is going to be storing it underground. And so this kind of talks about the Oklahoma geology of what we look at. And I think this is very fascinating to look at. I actually had a follow-up conversation with this geologist. He works for, obviously, OU as well. There's a slide with some maps on there, and that's kind of what we need to look at. So here's actually the state of Oklahoma. If you look at the bottom right, that is looking the northeast to the southwest, is if we were to take and cut Oklahoma in half. So if you look at where the white is, that's kind of where the top part, and then you can see where all the oil and gas development is, which is all, where basically the Anadarko Basin is, and along that fold. And of course, that fold is where the Wichita Mountains raised up, why the basin went down. So it's like taking a piece of paper and it went like this. So here's the Ouachita Mountains, and here's the Anadarko Basin. If you look in the northwest corner of Greer County, the northeast corner of Greer County, you will see that there's a few black dots. And what those black dots actually represent is basically well, we've actually have drilled into the bed, because there's a lot of people say that we can't drill in Southwest Oklahoma because of the granite layer. Well, it has been done. We've had that exploration there, and there's actually, we have the capabilities to actually store down here. Now, if you look at that map, the more black dots you have, the more oil and gas development there is. The fewer black dots, the less oil and gas development. That's important for waste management, because one of the key requirements for waste management is very low to no oil and gas development, which, as we all know, Southwest Oklahoma doesn't really have that. So I think this is a very interesting map, in my opinion, because it shows you how deep it is. And so if you think about the 7,000 feet that they're talking about pushing this down, Southwest Oklahoma, when you go 7,000 feet, you're basically through anything that's permeable at that time. You're basically in that basement layer is what they called it.
Reggie, do you wanna sit Reggie, you wanna sit over there so you can see better? I was gonna tell you that earlier, I'm sorry, you were having to turn your neck around. Okay.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Any questions over that?
I can't see the black
Oh.
dots, I can see those dots, but I couldn't see the black dots.
Oh, yeah, they're really light, but,
Maybe
It's
they're-
really,
yeah.
it's more up around Willa.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Is where there's, which there's
Also
few
black
natural
dots up
gas
here.
wells. up
Yeah.
there.
And then the
Okay.
ones in Greer County. There's
Is there
very
any in
little.
Greer County?
Yeah.
Mhm.
There is one, I see it.
There's a few.
There, yeah.
And again, these are available in that ee.ok.gov/NLIC, and you can look at it in greater detail. This is the monitoring and mitigation capacity. Basically, Oklahoma, as we all know, had some earthquake issues back during the fracking issue. And so we already have a monitoring mitigation capacity set out. There's actually one, again, in our neck of the woods that can monitor fault activity. And as you can see on the left, that's where the earthquakes were at, and to the right, that's the monitoring map. And if you look at the left, again, there's absent from Southwest Oklahoma is earthquakes, and so we have seismic stability, which is also another one of those factors they look at for waste management. But we also already have monitoring stations out here as well. And this is where they're just having a in-depth search of what's going on underground. And notice we're actually part of that ongoing survey. So that entire blue thing on the left, and you can kind of see that they're doing a lot of work. Legacy studies, early 80s, geological salt distribution for nuclear wastewater disposal. So this is kind of already an area that's been explored for that purpose as well. So,
Have they given any, timeline on it? Like, is it gonna take 10 years? Is it gonna take?
for what? For the
To actually get, the nuclear part going and whatever it is you guys are, your final
Yeah.
go, your final go.
They're gonna have to put, they're trying to put things in place by the end of the year. Because basically the federal government has this mandate that military bases have to be, energy independent. And so this is what kind of pushed it all. And so that's why we're at such a tight timeline. Because if you look at the actual timeline, Oklahoma got approved in July, end of July. We had our meeting August 20th. We have to submit a proposal by August 28th. It has to get to the Department of Energy by September 7th. And so the state finalists are gonna be selected before the end of the year, and then it's gonna be something that's gonna start in process almost immediately. I mean, this is kind of one of those breakneck speed type deals. But if you want to go to the next slideshow, which I think is the deep isolation one. I think it's under documents. Either documents or resources at the top right. One of those. Might be under resources. Yeah, I think it might have been a resources, sorry. Well, that's not it. Do you remember what was that?
It was not, so I did documents.
Okay.
And then you go right under the big word of
Okay.
documents, there's presentations, and you'll
Okay.
click on presentations.
Okay, there you go.
And then you'll go down to the presentations, and he's looking at the deep geological isolation
Yeah.
slide is the next one.
So this here is essentially what the plan is. As when we talk about waste disposal, next slide. This is just statistics. So this is kind of the overview. Essentially what they're gonna do is, essentially drill a hole, just like you would in an oil and gas rig. They case it in concrete, then they put these tubes that are sealed in steel, and they shove it deep in the ground. It goes about 7,000 feet into the ground. So that's essentially what it is. So a lot of the oil and gas stuff that they're already doing can actually translate into waste disposal.
And each boring hole holds more than just one.
Yeah,
tube.
they hold like 250
Yeah.
of these
And then
tubes.
once it gets to its max capacity, they end up sealing it to where there's no way to then get back into it. So that way it can stay out of the earth,
Yeah.
in so many words.
So here's another picture of it, and they can do this just like like a normal oil and gas thing. They can do it horizontal, or they can go straight down. They can even go down and bring branches. I think there's some in Finland that has more than one path on it. And notice it goes so far down in the ground, it goes through all the water layers, and it's literally, there's nothing there by the time it gets there, and that's kind of the process of what you're at. And these tubes that they put in there, I mean, best way I can think of it is like almost like a big fire hydrant. It's about that size. They're not that big at all. And then this is kind of what the safety is on that chart on the right. Is the only really thing you worry about. That shows you, the bottom shows you how long it's going to take for the radiation that's stored inside those wells to actually irradiate this to the surface, and what the potency is when it gets there. So I think at the bottom it's like 10 to the 8 or something, which is essentially 1,000,000 years. It takes about 1,000,000 years for it to do, and once you get to the surface, the radiation dose you'd have is about like eating a banana. So that's based on their numbers. Because radiation puts off heat, and so that you know, there's a lot of questions about what that heat dissipation and warmth, and it's so far down, and it's just going to take so long to get there. So, if you go back one, it just, you know, why do we want to do it here? Because we've got the oil and gas supply chain, we've got extensive subsurface data because of our oil and gas industry, and we're basically got a stable under subsurface environment. And again, if you want to read these in greater detail, they are available on that website. That's really probably the last slideshow I kind of wanted to talk about. Again, if you look at that, it shows you Southwest Oklahoma as not much going on over here. So that's kind of it in a nutshell on now the footprint of these, as far as land usage, is they take about 40 acres of surface use, but they need like 200 to 1,000 acres, depending on if you're going to go horizontal or not, of subsurface rights. Ideally, they want places where mineral rights are intact, because once you start drilling it, it's a condemned site at that point, so there could never be mineral development there. No oil and gas development at that point. As far as jobs go, I mean, it's 200, 250 jobs just in the waste disposal side. And it includes all sorts of jobs, blue-collar jobs, security jobs, because these would be secured sites. So they emphasize, you know, this would be a basically federal facility, so federal officers, basically, guys with guns is what they kept saying. So
And that's permanent jobs?
that's permanent jobs, yeah.
Okay, that's
How many
not
did you say?
Just the build?
Well, for the waste disposal side, 200, 250.
And I think for some, because you had sent out that memo to us, and for the public to know, and you kind of explained it at the beginning, this whole life cycle deal. The requirements for like the manufacturing, the fabrication, the reactor itself, what else? The
And then the-
recycling and then the waste. There are certain things that's required for them to, and one of them is railroad.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna get to that.
Okay,
yeah.
well, and I just, he keeps talking about the waste and
Yeah.
disposal because that's really now. All
Yeah.
this that I talked about 2 months ago, that's out the window. Okay, this is a different deal, and
Are you sure it's out the window though? Because there, could we look at alternative transportation?
Well, that's
Well-
kind of the purpose of the meeting, but I wanted to
Yeah.
lead with the waste disposal because again, that's the most controversial thing.
Yeah.
And they spent the vast majority of that conference talking about that because for these for Oklahoma to be selected as a site for nuclear development, that is like priority one, is that they have to find community partnerships to do with the waste disposal of this. Because if every place in Oklahoma says, no, we're not gonna do nuclear waste, nothing else follows that. So it's one of those deals that they was really trying to sell and emphasize the waste disposal aspect and the safety aspect of it and the mechanics of it in order to kind of make us as a community leaders comfortable with potentially looking at it as an option. Because, you know, again, we have to choose 2 nodes. And the 3 nodes is waste disposal, energy generation, and basically energy manufacturing. So we have to choose 2 of those. Back to transportation issues, they did say that generation and disposal actually do pair well together because there's no transporting of nuclear waste at that point. And once the fuel's at the end of life, they can just go to the same site and dispose right there where the plant is located at. So that's kind of what they're looking for, because again, we have to choose what nodes we want to propose, and we got till Friday to do it. And if, you know, if we say these 2 and not waste disposal, you know, and then another party says, hey, we'll do waste disposal, they're going to be a little higher on our list. Is kind of how I took away from it. I think there's one more PowerPoint presentation. I think it's the main one. That I think you had brought it up. The Oklahoma one. I think this one actually has it on the 3 nodes. If you go, right, yeah, so here's the 3 nodes: reactor deployment and isotope production, fuel cycle enrichment through recycling, and used nuclear waste management. So that's kind of, at one campus, 3 nodes. And so what they emphasize is they want to co-locate these 3 nodes in a close area and preferably 2 at the one location. So interested communities who have to submit proposals have to say, okay, we will do node 1 and node 2. And then someone else say, we could do all 3, or someone might say just 3 and 1, but we have to select 2 that we can do. Now, each node has specific requirements, and I think the requirements are on the next slide. I think it breaks it down on the requirements. It's in your memo there. So number 1, we're going to be generating 1 million megawatts, or 1 gig of power, which is a lot. And they are looking for approximately 500 acres to do that. Because again, they want to try to do other things. For example, here, advanced nuclear reactors, medical, industrial, isotope production, maybe room for research and academic reactor use. So just because we're doing generation, it's going to have these ancillary duties responsible or around it. Obviously, one thing else on this one is they do want rail access, because a lot of this, what they're going to do is going to be by rail.
And you're not, that, and we don't have rail here.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily eliminate us.
No, because on our proposal, what they say is like, okay, what they're looking for is what is our town willing to host? What assets does our town have? and what assets do our town need. And so if we were a selected site, my understanding is there's financing available to create the infrastructure necessary. And as far as a lack of the railhead, you know, I think it might be better to build one here, so it's a dedicated rail versus having to use the farm rail system or even the other rail systems, because we like that way only this rail is used only for this purpose, so it might work to our advantage, if that makes sense. And so the next one would be the fuel cycle. And again, the rail access would be on this one, and since it is going to be co-located with other areas, they are asking for about 500 acres, and that just kind of again emphasizes the fuel cycle. And then here's again a used and nuclear reactor disposition. So this is phase 3. Again, we're looking at rail and power access, 40-acre surface footprint, then 800 to 2,000 acre subsurface one for the waste disposal. So that's kind of the overview of what these campuses are going to look like. Again, I keep on saying NLIC, but it stands for Nuclear Lifecycle Innovation Campus. And again, all these materials are available at ee.ok.gov/NLIC. It also provides the background as far as other useful information and timelines of resources. There's also YouTube videos. For example, Deep Isolation has its own YouTube channel that posts some videos that kind of talks about the waste disposal. So that's kind of it in the nutshell as far as what I have to say. Again, 828 is preliminary interest. Again, what assets do we have? What infrastructure? We have to send that to NLIC at ee.ok.gov. We're talking about the advantages would be up to $100 billion for waste disposal, about 22,000 jobs that these campuses could generate as far as start to finish. Not all of them are permanent because some, of course, is building and things of that nature. But when it's all said and done, in infrastructure report improvements, a wide variety of jobs, $100,000 median salaries. So it's a big deal. I mean, it's kind of one of these once in a lifetime opportunities.
So what do we have to do right now? We have to-
Well, again, we have to put our proposal together. To really step one is this something that Mangum wants to continue to pursue? If so, second, it says, okay, let's put together the proposal, but we want to only choose these 2 areas. And step 3, we really kind of get our heads together and figure out what resources we have as a community. So when we do submit our proposal, you know, we have mapped it out basically.
And my concern right now is because it's gotten bigger.
Yeah.
You know, this is more than just a Mangum.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, municipality, you know, 500 acres is more than the town. So it's, you know, and I know we're on a very, very tight time scale, but, you know, the county's got to be involved. And that's my biggest concern. I mean, concern right now is we're trying to make a decision that involves all of Greer County as far as the public and the people and the county commissioners. And, I don't know. I mean, I'm having a hard time, like Ken.
With us moving forward with this, does it mean, we can submit a proposal, it doesn't mean we're locked into anything.
That's correct. Yeah.
So, it would give us time to get with other agencies and entities to discuss more options and get this out to the public, you know? I mean, but right now, we are on a tight timeline to turn around. So I say we work on a proposal to move forward, but it doesn't mean that we have to make a decision today that this is what we're doing, cause we don't, it's still up in the air.
Yeah.
Yeah, cause if we don't get the proposal in by the 28th, then we lose everything regardless, so,
This just keeps our name
yeah.
out there.
And there's no time for
moving
even to
forward.
get with the county and be like a special meeting, so.
Right, I mean, I guess as far as the public, you know, that is a concern of mine. I mean, I agree, I wanna try to get it,
But
Try to
putting
get
in
the
a
ball in our
proposal
court.
doesn't mean that we're like going behind the public's back, we're just
Right.
saying we're interested in this, and then we can have the town halls, and we can have this, and we can bring the public in for more input.
and of course, I watched a lot of the videos and it's very informative, and I encourage the people to take the time to watch this. It says a lot, but, and it's something I didn't quite realize, so, I mean, so on the waste part of it, every video I've watched, I feel, you know, as comfortable as what the sign says, that's a safe disposal. My question is getting it there.
Yeah.
Like, let's say on train, you know, we know in Missouri or wherever they had a catastrophe of a train derailment that wiped out a town, basically, and, you know, that concerns me. So, not necessarily under the ground, I feel like they've got it figured out, it's getting it there.
Well, and in some of the videos that they do have for it, the vessels that they put it all in and seal it up are safe for transport, safe for handling, so they're all safe prior to even putting them in the ground, so.
And that's why they're looking to collect these as well, is that way we don't have that logistical issue, because the guy, the deep isolation guy basically brought that concern up, that it's the worst that, you know, thing they hate the most is
Above ground.
transported nuclear waste. That's why they say it compares well with generation, because then you don't have to send it off to a site, you can just literally just take it, you know, on the same plot. But yeah, I agree with you, and it's really difficult to be here, because one thing they also emphasized during that is whatever direction they go, they need, community buy-in.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Because they try to do a nuclear disposal, site in Nevada, which, you know, in the middle of the desert, and that's been in litigation hell for like, I think 23 years.
23
Yeah,
years.
so that's why they're trying to, you know, get communities on board to try to get ahead of a lot of that. But the problem that we run into is, it's like when I was talking to Dirk about that, is like, even if I am 100% convinced that it's a safe process, we still have 5,000 people in Greer County that may disagree with us.
Mhm.
And if that happens, we don't have the community participation. But we didn't really have enough time to be like, hey, community, we're thinking about doing this, what do you think? Because I think he got the email end of July, beginning of August, I was there on the 20th, and now we're here. But I can tell you, and based off of the needs that this project needs, you know, Mangum does not have a rail line, and Mangum does not have 500 acres, which is two of the big hurdles we're facing. And so if we decide to move forward with just node 1 and node 2, I just don't think we'd be considered long-term, especially if another facility, like Guyman, for example, who's also there, says, well, we'll do node 3. Altus is also in the running for this. Gary Jones, I found out through the grapevine, Gary Jones with the city of Altus has been working on this for about 2.5 years. Lawton is also on the list, on the short list, and so is Elk City. So those are all areas close to us. And I think Altus, in a way, is situated a little bit better than us because all the geological advantages Altus also has because they're in the same part of the corner of the state, but they have the rail line, they have a better infrastructure, and with Air Force Base, I think they have access to land. So even if we were to do something like that and maybe talk to Altus and try to support Altus, that can benefit us as well.
Yeah, that is, whether we are for this or against it, I think if we're against it, then we definitely push for Altus, because I feel like we would get a lot of runoff from that. You know,
I think our biggest deal, do you think our biggest deal would be convincing the people because we don't, it's just everybody always says, oh, well, they're lying, they don't have any proof, they
Well,
just,
And
That's what bothers me.
One of the
That's what
slides
bothers
that you saw, the United States used to be one of the leading, world leaders in nuclear energy production, and then you had an unfortunate series of events between, Chernobyl in Ukraine and then, 3 Mile Island, and so that left a bad taste in people, and then of course Fukushima in Japan. So when you have these nuclear episodes, and I mean, I think Chernobyl was right around 1980, and you can see where that's kind of where the drop off happened. And so this nuclear energy has gone a long way, and a lot of those nuclear mistakes, they were human error. It's just trying to get it, and you know, I think we've gone a long way to building the systems. And also we found out through Chernobyl, yeah, it's still pretty irradiated, but things are bouncing back a lot faster, and actually there's been some organisms that are developing that can consume radiation, radioactive materials in there. So the long-term environmental impact is unknown, because again, when we're talking about scales of thousands of years, the long-term is unknown. And also, you know, use an Oklahoma example, picture Oklahoma is an abandoned site now, and because they had that plant and they took that chat and spread it all throughout the town and made the town toxic, so picture Oklahoma to get abandoned. And so we got those types of environmental disasters. And so even if you have this completely safe process, the fact is this human error will never be taken out of the equation. We're talking about time spans that are beyond human comprehension. And we always remember when things go wrong, and not the fact that we have a ton of nuclear facilities in the United States where things are going right. And so I think when it comes to community education, the biggest hurdle is trying to explain that this isn't Chernobyl, this isn't 3 Mile Island, this isn't.
Well, and
Yeah.
most of those catastrophes were, and I read some more that weren't that big, but it was, because that's the question I see, you know, we're in Tornado Alley.
Yeah.
And so you lose power, and the older way, yeah, you lose power, a person had to shut it down and start trying to figure it all. You know, people abandoned it, and so that's what made it overheat. Because like now, they use physics to actually cool it down.
Yeah.
So if something goes wrong, if we lose power or whatever, it'll cool itself through gravity, and
Yeah.
it's something I don't understand. but-
Also the ones they're using is liquid metal instead of water, which helps a lot because obviously the evaporation. Liquid
Oh,
metal, because the evaporation point's different, because the problem with Chernobyl, the control rods were attached to the reactor rods, and so whenever it got overheated, they shoved everything in it first, but the water had already evaporated, so the control rods couldn't cool the reactor down fast enough, which caused it to go exponentially more. And it was just, again, one of those human errors when, you know, it happens.
And something else,
And also what made Chernobyl so bad was that was during the Soviet Union, and nobody wanted to take responsibility because we knew what happened if you get the responsibility of the Soviet Union.
And two, a lot of this, the waste part of it, it's been recycled numerous times.
Yeah, so the
So
half-life
it's-
is significantly reduced.
Yeah, and then, from what I understand, I didn't see the video here, but, one of them I watched was, they actually, once they're spent, they actually put them in water for 5 years. And which, at that moment, the minute you start all that, they start heat so much that even the water gets affected. And so then that is when it's ready for disposal. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, and the other reactors we were looking at, they, would require large water intake. These, to use liquid metal, and also the manufacturing is a closed loop, which means they recycle the water and then disposal. It's just like a normal oil and gas site, so the water demand is significantly lower than some of the other nuclear options we have in the past. The good thing about this project is it will have the full backing of both the federal government and the state government, so there's gonna be, I don't wanna say limitless, but there's gonna be significant resources available to build infrastructure, improve infrastructure, raise tax revenue up to $45 million in additional tax revenue per year, jobs throughout it's not just nuclear science jobs, it's engineer jobs, it's blue collar jobs, it's pipe jobs. So it just has a huge, and then the ancillary services of medical research and academic jobs. I mean, so it's just not a power plant. It's a community, and that's why they call it a campus, because there's all these community services that can
All the universities would be involved because of the research taking place.
So do we need to do anything?
You're gonna make some decisions.
I know. We need to say that.
Okay, so it's like, get a new board,
You gotta decide what you know that you'd be willing to do, and we have to kind of recognize our benefits. I mean, the acreage is gonna kind of hard to come up with. Well, and those are the two needs that we need.
There is an existing road, is a long time.
It depends on, not all the rail lines have been vacated, I'll put it that way. Some of the title opinions I've looked at shows that there's still technically rail easements out there in certain areas. I think there's actually a big rail yard that's out west of town that was supposed to be built there that never got built. And if you look at a satellite, there's a satellite image, you can actually still see where the old rail lines used to be.
Wow.
They go right next to my house, right north of my house, the old railhead.
I was gonna say, wasn't there one, yeah, right?
Yeah, there's one that like went through
Yeah.
Hess there and all that area. Then it went out towards Granite.
That's where we still ride, we used to ride our horses on them all the time.
well, and isn't there one right on the other side of the Quartz Mountain that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's that farm road that goes through, Blair. The closest one to us is either that one or maybe Duke, but Duke is a dedicated line that goes to the factory.
May I speak? Sorry.
Yeah.
It's yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
When it comes to transportation of this kind of stuff, DOE, Department of Energy, is in charge of doing all this. Department of Energy moves radioactive stuff down I-40 on a daily basis. Okay? Saturday, I went to go watch a baseball game in Oklahoma City and passed the DOE truck, and you knew it was because of the amount of security that thing had. have so many fail-safes in place. So yes, they plan for every contingency, and that even includes railhead. And even if it doesn't have a railhead that comes straight here, they'll put it on something to get it here the rest of the way. This is where the end result is.
And to add to that, when, towards the end of my patrol career, I got in size and weights. And that was, for one, that was one warning we got. If you stop a truck that's got black SUVs in front and behind and tinted windows, and they're gonna get out with AK-47s and, you know, anyways, but, you know, I remember stopping a truck south of Altus, that was a hazmat. Of course, you're supposed to, you know, inspect things and make sure it's all up. And it was a big old truck, and all it was carrying a little peel that was encased in 6 foot of concrete. I don't know what it was, but it was bad stuff. And then I remember another truck I stopped, he had to get on the phone and call because he was carrying some kind of, I don't know what it was, some kind of, something that a fighter jet was fixing to be because he had made an unexpected stop. And I was like, okay, you make the phone call. I don't want to be in the target, but anyways, but yes, as far as Chief Tyler says, there is a lot of bad stuff on the roads right now that's being transported through here. I mean, that we don't know about. It's just, that's probably more advertised when I was talking about like a train derailment and stuff like that. And, but anyways, yeah. Ricky, do you have any input?
Well, one, you know, if we have the nuclear reactor, we will have more jobs also, and we will be bringing in more people here. And so that's, you know, that's going to be a good thing for us too. We have the abstract here. I think they can look up the land and see where we could probably put it or what's available and stuff like that. I think that if we keep going forward, it will probably be better for us. And for those who don't, you know, well, I'm the one who's gonna pretty much try. I'm not gonna do, but I'm gonna try to work with the community, to talk to the people and let them know and prevent them from leaving in Chipotle. This is a new generation. I think we're more safer, or no? I think we're safer than we were back then. And,
We've learned through failure.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And that is the one way you learn the best, is through failure.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's my biggest concern is the safety of the people.
Yeah.
I mean, and not just today, but 50 years from now, my grandkids, your grandkids, I mean, you know, that type of,
Yeah.
you know, is on my mind. I'm gonna be honest, this whole week, I've felt like the weight of the world's been on my back, just running all this through my mind just constantly. I mean, I've got a notebook next to my bed. I kept getting up last night and writing stuff down that I kept thinking of, and, you know, questions, and I think my biggest is, of course, the safety, but then also what, you know, I've got to look at people and say, you're not just getting waste, you're getting this, and which, you know, 200 to 250 jobs, I mean, that's a lot for Greer County. Now, again, it doesn't outweigh it if it's not safe. That does not but if, you know, if they can prove that things have gotten safe now, then yeah, I mean, it's, you know,
So in reading that questionnaire that you sent out, it states that expressing interest is only a willingness to have conversation and learn more. So I don't see a problem with this moving forward with the proposal. I mean, yeah, what are some of our weaknesses? We don't have we don't have the 500 acres. Could we come up with it? Could we come up with some different ideas? Sure, I think we could. You know, but if we don't keep trying to do something, we're never gonna get anywhere, so.
I think once, like, the public, you know, knows more about it and everything, I think it'll be amazed on what you can find, or what can come up available. But I think you gotta, you know,
And that's why I was trying to share as many resources, because a lot of these resources are publicly available, so the community can go to these websites, go to that Deep Isolation YouTube channel, and learn kind of what we're going through in order for us to help with the education deal. But it's really gonna have to start small and then build. One concern that I expressed was that it seems like we have tried numerous times in the past to do town halls with very low to no participation. And I don't want to be a situation where we just say, okay, we gave you the opportunity and that's it. I mean, I think we probably need to be a little bit more proactive to get the information out there, because I don't want trucks to show up and then people show up with their picket signs. You know, I think it's something we need to be proactive and get a message out. Again, what Renee said, a proposal does not mean contract, it just means keep us at the top. We want to be on your list. We're willing to do to our community. As community leaders, we're willing to do the work and work with you, and hopefully, because again, Oklahoma hasn't even been chosen yet. So, you know, Oklahoma still has to be chosen as a host site. There's a couple other states that kind of has a slight advantage, Tennessee being one of them. So there's still a lot of moving parts that have to fall in place before we even get to the point of breaking ground. Because once we get chosen, if the state of Oklahoma is chosen, then it's like, okay, where we're going to put them. And again, this is a long shot because of our weaknesses, looking at some of the other towns that are presenting. But I think, you know, since this is a once in a generation opportunity, it's really hard not to at least put a proposal in.
I know something that has crossed my mind 1,000 times this week. I've been raised here my whole life, and I've heard so many times. And then people back in the day, we could have had the air base, we could have had the college, we could have had, I don't know, the brick, or not the brick
The
plant.
4-lane. The 4-lane.
The rip jip,
Yeah.
you know, but they turned it down. The people turned it down. The people turned it, and it's like, so there's a lot of me, I'm like, I don't wanna be those people that turn it down, but again, it's just a lot of,
Okay, what's the next step we need to do? We need to find what, we need to decide on the nodes.
Yeah, you need to decide the nodes.
We need to do that right now. I think we need to go ahead and get that done.
I feel like on the nodes, accepting the waste, you know, that's gonna be the hardest, that the whole government's going to be, nobody wants that. And, so I mean, I think it's something we have to consider if we want to be in the
For them
running.
to choose us over Altus or else,
Yeah.
or something like that.
Or
Yeah.
even Tennessee. I mean,
Oh,
cause
yeah.
you know, I don't know that Tennessee's like, yeah, we'll do it except for the waste, or Utah, or whatever, Idaho, whoever the other
It's
states were.
It's Utah, Tennessee, us,
Idaho, wasn't it?
Idaho,
There's 5,
and I
right?
can't remember the fifth one.
Anyways, but Arkansas, or Louisiana,
Probably.
yeah, it was Louisiana.
It was
Anyway.
one of the southeast states, I can't remember which one.
But, you know, and so that's why that's what's been on my mind the most is the waste, because I feel like, you know, that's what nobody's gonna want, and that would put us to the top. And two, I don't know, of course, in that meeting that he went to Thursday, so, you know, we were just one of 20 towns that were there, that was invited. So it's down, you know, this is what we were talking about, when we started this journey, it's like, man, that's like 10,000 miles away, it'll never happen, but hey, at least we're fine, and now all of a sudden, it's like, oh my, it's just right over there, and so I guess I'm getting cold feet now, thinking, you know, that, anyway, so I would,
I'm just amazed at all the work you've done and what time you put into it. Thank you very much.
wanna hit a home run, we gotta come up to the plate.
Yeah.
So I say we go up to the plate, we put a proposal in, and
Okay, what
see
notes?
if we can,
Quick question. Assuming that, you said we need to take 2 notes.
And
right?
we have to host at least 2.
And node 1 and 2 can be combined into the same 500 acres?
Yeah, that's, all 3 of these can be put on the same
Is there,
500
if
acres.
we're willing to say that we're going out into a waste site, is there any reason not to say we have all 3?
We could say we can have all 3, yes.
Now, on the reactor, like what I was proposing 4 months ago,
Mhm.
you know, we're talking, what was it, 15 to 20 megawatts is what they were
Yeah.
gonna produce. What they're wanting to build is 1 gigawatt.
Yes.
Correct? I don't know the size of it, that's a whole lot bigger. And can we sustain that size of the reactor?
Of course, that's one thing we find out as we go along and
Well,
do the research.
OMPA was at the meeting. OMPA wants this somewhere in the state of Oklahoma. OMPA is our power provider now. So it's one of the situations of if we generate a gig here, it'd be being sold to support the grid as well. So we don't have to support it locally, we support, we're gonna be one of the largest energy producers and so.
You can say something.
But I, again, encourage everybody to go through the rest of the slides because there is actually more stuff there that talks about what these campuses can look like. As far as, I mean, this is some of the more of the science behind it. Okla, who's one that put these together, their first isotope facility went from nothing to operational in 11 months. So it's a quick thing. It's definitely a quick thing, definitely. And back to some of the jobs we talked about, there's going to be monitoring people that's going to be in charge of monitoring it, data tech services, field service techs, program management, security. I mean, there's tons of jobs and tons of money that one of these can generate.
I mean, it is.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say.
We're
I
open.
had on my mind, we had 2, but
Keeping this in there, yeah, I know there's an offer.
like I said, if we rise up and like, no, we don't want nothing, we're not locked in.
Right, yeah. Because I think they did understand that at the conference, that all this is new information for towns, and it's really hard to,
so our proposal is, questionnaire.
basically, and we was gonna add some write-up to it,
Yeah,
yeah. And I don't mind doing that, I kinda started it, I wanted to have something to you all today, but it's not enough time in the day, and I haven't figured out how to slow it down yet.
So do we just go through that questionnaire?
No, you said that. Yeah.
Yeah, I went through it, that's why, that's, I
It's,
don't have it, he was,
yeah, it's, which of the following components would be number 1, and then obviously, we could say the different nodes, we could check note 1, 2, and 3, then not sure, would like more information, responding, none. All right, so we check, and the second one is the nuclear, the life cycle innovation campus is expected to provide multiple development opportunities, how well do those who are interested in life community existing in life development goals? I mean, I would arguably say at least very well.
I have very well. And being able to interested in opportunities to create long-term and skilled employment, expand on economic, I don't have my glasses, guys, okay? Attract new residents and businesses and support investment in infrastructure. The potential scale of the MLIC project makes it only worthy of further evaluation.
Also, I'd say we used to have one of our here, we have two commission. That's a big community concern. Our business, and we feel very much that we can look for a solution to that as well. Here, you see community leaders in the community, obviously, we would have to include big people, we have a lot of communities here, your county, officials, part of the school, youth facilities, maybe some of the college and so forth. We have to bring some of these out there. Like Dirk says, more of the city would have to be county leaders as well, and other leaders. Based on what you know, what is the current level of support for this project? I think the community leaders identified above, I would say at least, from y'all, I'd say high, very high. And I'd probably say moderate support, so that's kind of good.
The worst people in the country.
Yeah, that was, you know, seen January, like, just, cause I just, it was a massive crowd of businesses doing it, so, yeah, I personally didn't give anything. Let's move on.
Yeah,
We were talking about the current level of.
yeah,
I'm not sure, cause that, I mean, we have that support. We don't have it.
well, it says among the community leaders identified above, so I figured if, I think that'd be moderate support from community leaders. Community as a whole, I think is different. I think we can get letters of support, at least one. What resources would your help the community learn more about it?
We agreed to submit the leader out of office to be part of this.
Yeah, cause I
Good.
spoke to him today, and he said he, that he, there's a topic that
See what happens.
Yep. Should have had it on recording.
What resources would help our community learn more about it? I mean, I honestly think maybe virtual briefings, probably in person and educational community events would probably be best.
We do open materials, facts,
I could-
or if we could just put these, this will have a website
Yeah.
for them to be able to know.
Yeah, that would work. I just know like a lot of times when you put out physical meeting, it's a lot of people read it.
Read it.
Yeah.
One more, he just put it it would show on the website.
Then last, is there anything else you'd like to send out, such as questions, concerns, or opportunities, which, if you have anything like that? I mean, I think that our deadline is Friday, we got this questionnaire. I think maybe they'll just all fill one out and then give them Brittany, and then we'll put it, combine into one master one, and then I'll have to answer the questions that they had as far as like what resources we have and what resources we need as far as site location and trailhead, what resources, you know, say like on our own power grid right now, on our own water distribution
Yes.
Clark.
Is there any, I was thinking maybe if we, is there any advice on what we do? Could we put something on our, just saying, something about us?
Like, what will this do for me?
Mhm.
You know, I don't wanna just dump their waste in Greer County and, I mean, and when I say me, I'm talking about each individual person here and, you know, what can it do for the people? And besides, you know, put us on the news or something, I mean, it's more than that. And when you said the 250 jobs and good
And that's
sustainable jobs.
just for the one node.
Huh?
And that's just for the one node.
And that's just one note, so, okay, you got my attention now, and, you know, cause at first I'm thinking, you know, and as far as a lot of people too, they wanna question, well, do we have the workforce that can match what comes here? Well, a lot of this actually will come from the oil field. It's all the same work. So we have a lot of guys right here in Mangum that, not guys, but men and women, that, you know, have worked in the oil field and, you know, and made good money and we're good hands and living here already. And so, I mean, we will have the workforce. And then too, like I said, just seeing, I can just see something for our kids when they graduate high school to have a job to go to, a good job. And a reason to stay here if they want to. That's big in my book.
Yeah, the median income again is about $100,000.
So,
I never made that.
yeah.
And so it's, you know, I mean, it's, again, once in a lifetime opportunity, and
Mhm.
this one was once in a generation. As far as, I was born in '84 and lived here since '84, and other than 4-lane coming through, there's not been any other community projects that I can think of in the last 42 years that would have impacted Mangum like this.
Okay.
So, I'm like super busy this week. When do we need to get our proposal or our questions to the questionnaire back to you by tomorrow?
If you get to me tomorrow, I can throw it together, and if we can get them all combined, and then, I can get it probably sent back out to you either early Friday, and then, because again, Friday is our deadline, y'all give us the blessing of it, and then, because what I wanna do is take all your ideas, combine it into one document, and then we'll get it submitted, if that makes sense.
I have mine started, it's just,
This is what you're talking about?
Yeah, that right there, that
So
question.
each one of us has to fill this out, there's not just one.
Well, that's,
He's saying that you guys will all fill out one, you'll
Yeah.
get them back to me, and then we'll combine them as one big idea one.
Okay. Yeah.
We'll mesh them all together.
I mean, ideally, we could, because
Cause me and
again,
her might have the same things on ours, but.
I don't
Yeah.
see my question now. What is the question?
I mean, we
Yeah,
can pull
it's
it
in-
out and we can fill it out now, I
It's in-
just,
it's
Let's
in
say-
the email.
Oh,
that-
well, that's-
If you can email
sometimes
it
it's
to
being
me,
put on the
Dirk,
spot, sometimes I can't think of a good
if
idea.
you can
know.
email it to me, I can print one out for everyone, if you wanna forward it to
And
me.
this
really
came from
quick.
Ecor?
No, it came from,
Came from me,
Oh,
I guess.
I mean, we could sit there, we could work through it together, it's just, I know sometimes it's hard to come up with things on the spot is all. So I was just using that as an offer. Because we also need to add some of the strengths and weaknesses.
Oh, jeez.
Because you said.
Who's it one?
One day ago.
Fundraiser golf tournament on Friday, and I have all my family coming in tomorrow night, and family flying from Michigan today. So,
It was yesterday.
It's 25th.
Yeah.
and
That's
then
what I
Friday's
was
the tournament,
trying
and
to
then the
put.
bull riding event this weekend, so.
Okay, well, you already got some of it started.
There it is, okay.
I just don't think we get a lot of
That's the
staff
question.
after
Oh, I saw that
listening,
earlier.
you know, I
This
get,
is the
you know, I
question.
always make my notes and then,
Or wait.
oh, I don't
No,
need that.
it's not.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That's-
That's the one you just had me check fish.
So, yeah, mine will,
Maybe,
I
This
will
is
have
Kelly,
it
this is
listed
from
out,
Kelly
but it
Scott.
won't be in that actual questionnaire,
let me
is that
send
okay?
this to
Yeah.
Brittany.
Okay.
Yeah,
Here,
yeah,
I'm
if you
gonna
just
send it
number
to
them.
you
Yeah,
right
I
now.
did.
Yeah.
And then
That
And
email.
then that'll be perfect.
additional explanations,
So
okay.
you should be good now.
You wanna print those out, you're gonna print them off?
Yeah,
Just
I'm gonna print them out for you guys, and then that way you guys can get them filled out tomorrow.
Sorry to say, I'm trying to find it.
Well, and I'll just print you one out, Mary
Okay,
Jane.
I just sent,
You
I just
sent it to me.
you.
Okay, so once we adjourn the meeting, I can get them printed out for you guys, and then that way.
Is anybody, I mean, I just wanna give people, I mean, do you have any, Reggie, anything you
One
wanna?
incentive is you can say people will get free electricity.
Free electricity.
It'll be a lot cheaper electricity. Because we'll be manufacturing it closer to us, and nuclear energy is actually cheaper to manufacture, so it'll be cheaper. So electric rates go down, the roads will get fixed, we'll have a power plant in town again. So it
And
actually
everybody
checks
will be happy.
all the community, wish list.
Chief Taylor, you have anything?
You got anything?
You have anything before we
I
close?
have lots of things, but not right now.
Okay,
My brain's going.
I'm the same, I'm right now.
okay.
If, we're doing all 3 nodes, is the railhead as required?
To ship, because what the guy does is, we have like, I wanna cite this as close to accurate as I can, so let me refer to my notes. We have approximately 220 million pounds of nuclear waste stored throughout the United States that would need to be brought in for recycling. So that's kind of what a railhead
So
comes
it's
in.
not just the generating site that would be storing its own waste there?
Apparently, again, I found this very fascinating, is in all the years that the United States has been doing nuclear waste, we've never permanently disposed of any of that. And so they called it the largest mining operation because each of those, a pound of nuclear waste, because of their chemical composition, is valued at $2,000 to $5,000 per pound. So we actually have I think it's 50 trillion or 150 trillion, I can't remember, but I think it's $50 trillion worth of nuclear waste materials that we're gonna mine first. That's trillion with a T, which is bigger than billion. So that's an unfathomable amount of
So what
money.
do they use that nuclear waste for?
Essentially, they can
They're going
re-enrich
to,
it.
because, you know, they still have all the atoms in it that they can extract.
Oh, okay.
So whenever they go put that material that we was looking at explains it better than I can. But whenever they put that through a reactor, you know, plutonium or uranium, they only capture about 5% of the potential energy of that isotope, basically. So 95% of the energy potential of those atoms go to waste. And so that waste gets placed and stored somewhere. So this is a newer technology where now they can go to that waste and go back in there and separate the waste from the usable atoms again and get a higher efficiency use out of it. So that's what we talk about recycling.
So,
It's kind of like an aluminum can. When you make a can, you can melt it down and make it something out of aluminum again. It's similar to that.
so do we get, would the county get revenue off of that?
Yes.
I mean, because they're, you know, Deep Isolation or whatever company it is basically, you know,
Yeah, I mean, it's going to increase the value, so that means ad valorem taxes goes up, which means the tax dollars for the county goes up.
And being such a large facility, I imagine that they'd have a pretty high, property tax.
Yeah.
So do we need to do anything else now since
No.
I think we're.
Unless you have
we're
any
ready
other
to-
questions.
So my idea is that you guys are gonna, inform us more of the little bitty details that are hard to get out.
Yeah, basically what we're doing now is, I mean, this is just the big
Big thing, we're
picture.
gonna do
It's like,
it.
it's a tree. It's not a detailed tree, it's just a couple of squiggly lines and this is a tree. And then we'll refine that as we go, because again, we might get to that point not to, discount public opinion, but we'll get to that point where if Oklahoma gets chosen, and then we're chosen as a potential site, then that's whenever, you know, we really start doing this community education, and if the community says, go for it, then we keep going. But if the community says, no, we don't like this, we don't want this here, I mean, we're gonna do the will of the people. So it's really the community's decision, the county's decision, the area's decision. It's not our decision. It's just, we're just basically saying, hey, look at us for now, because if we don't do anything, then the opportunity's gone. If we do something and we're chosen and the community supports it, it's gonna be huge.
Mhm.
But if the community's not there with us, then of course, you know, it's like, sorry guys, we're taking ourselves out, if that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense, anyway.
Okay. I'll enter, are you finished? Are we finished? I need I need a motion to adjourn.
Renee, you have anything else?
No.
You act like you do.
I don't, I'm just stressed because I don't have a whole lot of time this week and I hate doing things.
Yeah, well, we all do, but it's just, I mean, whenever they told me the 28th at that conference, I was like, we got to, you know, we got, and then I'm texting Brittany like, we need a special meeting, make it Monday if you can. 'Cause,
Sorry.
yeah, it's okay, it's just, but.
But I've got, you know, I've always
Yeah.
work on things and so I will get it to you tomorrow morning, so I won't have any other time this
Thank you
week.
so much for running commissioning.
Well, I say, let's pretend like we're at a baseball game and we're up at the home plate and we need to get to first base first and then come around and
Yeah,
make
I
it to
just-
home.
I don't wanna give up, I wanna keep our name in there, but doesn't mean we have to make any major decisions or just letting them know that we're still interested, but there are barriers.
Yes.
Mhm. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Need a second?
I'll second.
Have a second?
Huckabee,
Yes.
Hammond,
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
Guys,